right, good morning. Well, it's morning for me. I'm not sure when you see this video, but good day to you, my fellow Bills and football fans who may watch this video. Today I'm going to go into quarterbacks, not specifically ours in Buffalo, but he will be included in the conversation. Now, one thing that I've done more recently in my life is love football, right? I've always loved football from the time I was in high school on, right? Before that, I was ADHD. I'm still ADHD, but as an adult, I've learned to mitigate that more than before, right? And I love the game of football. I love combat sports in general. And if you don't think football is a combat sport, you're not watching. Now, one thing that I've noticed about football is the necessity for certain types of players at certain types of positions to be characteristically one way or another to succeed at their position. And this does depend on scheme and team and coaching and other traits that are involved. But the one thing that I've noticed, and I actually did a study on myself, and I've actually read another study on, is the intelligence of quarterbacks. Now, among quarterbacks, intelligence is one of many traits. You have intelligence, you have leadership, you have maturity, you have accuracy, mechanics, coaching, the team that they're drafted to, schematics, ability to see the field, physical strength, like throwing power, like, your Mahomeses and your Josh Allens, and your lack thereof, as in your Tom Brady's and your Nathan Petermans, for lack of a better, name to throw out there. Drew Brees, another name. There are many factors that are going to go into the success rate of your quarterback, right? And the longevity of them in their career. Body type, size, durability. There's going to be a lot of things that go into a quarterback's longevity, a quarterback's success. What you determine as success, for some people, success is, winning an MVP or winning a Super Bowl or, just putting up big numbers. So, I can give you examples of all those things, like winning an MVP. Lamar Jackson won one. Patrick Mahomes won it. Aaron Rodgers has won multiple, right? Drew Brees has won it before, I believe. Tom Brady's won a few. Peyton Manning has the most, 5. That's one type of success. That's individual success, right? Making an All-Pro selection, like Josh Allen did this year, is, an individual achievement. It's an accomplishment. He won the DraftKings Fantasy Player of the Year award. That's an accomplishment. Is it the highest of accomplishments? No. But there are accomplishments that these players have. They win these awards. They achieve certain levels of play that are individual accomplishments. Now, does that mean that they got there individually? Absolutely not. Everybody has help. It's a team game, right? But these are just individual accomplishments. Team accomplishments, like winning a Super Bowl, like Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Tom Brady's won 7. Brad Johnson's won a Super Bowl. Michael Vick didn't. There's different levels to achievement, and there's different types of achievement. So it really depends on the success that you're looking for, right? How quickly will you have success? How long will you have success? There are many different ways of looking at the plays of players, right? And in this case, we're specifically talking about quarterbacks, so let's stay on topic, right? Now, we're also focusing on the intelligence of quarterbacks, which is a measured trait. Now, a lot of people say, well, how do you measure intelligence? Well, for the NFL's purpose, it's the wonderlic test. The combine, players all go from every position. They take the wonderlic test. Now, the wonderlic test is a IQ test, which determines how quickly you can diagnose problems and come up with the correct answer. You have 50 questions in 12 minutes. You have those 12 minutes to answer as many questions correctly. The amount of questions you answer correctly is your score. Right? There we go. So, one thing that we've noticed throughout history is that throughout most of history, the wonderlic test didn't really matter, right? We have quarterbacks who scored quite low on the wonderlic and won Super Bowls, like Joe Namath. Jim Kelly went to 4. He scored a 14 or 15. Dan Reno, low wonderlic score. I think it was 16. Elway, 14. Terry Bradshaw, 14. There's a lot of players that have had success scoring low. Now, as of late, that has not been the case. In fact, it's been 23 years since a quarterback was drafted with a score below 20 on the wonderlic test and has won a Super Bowl and been a franchise quarterback. Period. Now, the test that I read indicated to me that the average score for the last 10 quarterbacks to win Super Bowls, of which Brady won 7. So this goes back kind of far because you have some guys who won multiple. Eli Manning won 2, Peyton Manning won 2, Tom Brady won 7. That accounts for 13 of the last Super Bowls, the last 20 Super Bowls, right? So you have 3 quarterbacks accounting for those. If you go back the last 10 quarterbacks, that goes all the way back, I believe, to Kurt Warner in 1999. Right? There's been a handful. Add Ben Roethlisberger, that's 15 among 4. Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. The list goes on. Joe Flacco. The average score for a quarterback who has won the Super Bowl of the last 10 guys to do it is 29. It's a little over 29, but it's not 30, so it's 29. Right? And that's been since 1999. The year Kurt Warner and the Rams won the Super Bowl against the Titans. They played against Steve McNair in that Super Bowl, and his wonderlic score wasn't that great either. I think it was a 15. Now, who was the last quarterback to become a franchise quarterback with a wonderlic score of under 20? The answer is Donovan McNabb. He's the last guy. 1998. He scored a 14. He was the Eagles franchise quarterback for 10 years. So we have a measuring stick. We have a guide that tells us exactly when the paradigm shifted, right? Not only have quarterbacks become mentally faster, but they've also become physically faster. So sometimes these physical freaks can mask this intelligence. Lamar Jackson, for example, he won the MVP a couple years ago. Now, when he won the MVP, the average score for the last 10 quarterbacks to win the MVP actually dropped quite a bit, from about 30 to 25. He brought that score down from 30 to 25. He scored a 13 on his wonderlic test. He was drafted in 2017 with Josh Allen. Excuse me, no, it wasn't 2017, it was 2018. Drafted in 2018 with Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Mason Rudolph, Josh Rosen, a handful of other quarterbacks that were later round picks. Right? But of the 6 in that draft that you probably remember, it's Mayfield, Darnold, Allen, Rosen, Jackson, and Mason Rudolph. Lamar Jackson scored the lowest of all of them, but he was also the most gifted physical athlete of all of them. Now, in this video, I'm not trying to come down on Lamar Jackson at all. I'm not trying to dismiss him at all. I'm not trying to lower his accomplishments, but it may come off that way because I'm going to put some perspective on what he has done and how he has done it. Now, here's the number, 20. If you score lower than a 20 on the wonderlic in the last 23 years, you were not fit to be a franchise quarterback. Not because that statistic says so, but because no one who's below that mark has done it. No one has. Now, that doesn't mean you score 20 or higher, you're going to be, right? It just doesn't. Plenty of guys who score higher than 20 aren't franchise quarterbacks. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the most glaring one. He scored a 48, highest wonderlic score ever. He doesn't have all of the traits to be a successful quarterback in the NFL. Right? There are just levels to the game. You have your confidence, you have all these different things that a quarterback has to have. And Fitzpatrick is missing something, or he's too much of something, too little of something else. He's off balance when it comes to his other traits. But the intelligence-wise is why he's been in the NFL for so long. Bounced off from team to team and started for every single team he's played on. Every single team he's played on, he has started at some point in time or another. He's probably the best backup quarterback to ever play the game. You can argue Frank Reich, I guess, with the comeback, but that's one game. Ryan Fitzpatrick, as a backup quarterback, I don't think there's anybody better. I have not seen anybody better as a backup quarterback. Now, let's go ahead and get back to the narrative here, which isn't really much of a narrative as much as it is just following the data. Now, the data says you score lower than a 20, you will not be a successful quarterback. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean not a franchise quarterback, not likely to start 4 years or more on the team that drafted you, or the first team that you started for, right? So that includes, as of right now, the notable names: Tua Tagovailoa, Lamar Jackson, Taysom Hill. Those are the notable names that I can think of off the top of my head that are not likely to start for more than 4 years. Now, will they go into their 5th year as a starter? It's possible. Will they push my numbers a little bit? Yeah. I don't really have a theory here. I'm simply, like I said, following the data. And when I did my study, I found this little bit of information here, this pattern, this fact, that no one who scored lower than a 20 on the wonderlic test has lasted for more than 4 years as a starting quarterback in the NFL. They have not been franchise quarterbacks. Now, Lamar Jackson's probably going to push that over by a year, maybe 2, which is fine. I don't mind being wrong about the whole 4-year thing, but when it comes to a franchise quarterback, Lamar Jackson has a small window to win a Super Bowl if the data is proved correct. We'll see. Is there the chance that there's an outlier in the data? Yes, there is. There is a chance. Do I think that Lamar Jackson is that? No, I don't. Here's a couple reasons. He did score a 13 on the wonderlic. He's gone to the playoffs 3 times. In the playoffs, each time that he lost, his team got dismantled, utterly destroyed. When they played the Chargers, they got destroyed. When they played the Titans in the second playoffs, he got destroyed. This year they played Titans again. They whooped up the Titans, but they only scored 3 points in their loss to the Bills. Let's go Bills, right? When you go and you break down what he's done, when it comes time to play those teams that can adjust to you, he is not intelligent enough to adjust back. He is too instinctive a player, right? He has some solid weapons. He's got great running back room. He's had a great running back room. He's got excellent tight end play. And he's got decent receivers. However, he's not thrown for more than 3,500 yards in a season. Does that mean he's a bad quarterback? No, because both years he's ran for over 1,000 yards the last 2 years. His first year, he only started 7 games, so last year was really the first year of his starting, right? The offense in his first year in the NFL was designed for Joe Flacco. The offense was not designed for him. He was in a foreign scheme. It wasn't built for him. His second year, when he took over and he was the starter from week 1, that offense was designed for him by Greg Roman. Now, Greg Roman's schemes are very simple. They mostly run out of the pistol and the shotgun, very little under center, and they're usually designed around the run. He ran a similar scheme in Buffalo with Tyrod Taylor. He ran a similar scheme in San Francisco with Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick, who is actually a pretty intelligent quarterback. He scored a 24 on the wonderlic. But he never really turned out to be that franchise quarterback. For, reasons that you can discuss on your own. I just don't think he was ever really that great a quarterback. But he was definitely excellent at times. Now, pushing beyond that, because that can be a slippery slope to climb, Lamar Jackson has already been exposed. Teams know how to beat him. It's difficult to do it, though. It's not an easy thing to do. He is so athletically gifted that he can score on any play of the game. He can literally just, no one's open for me, I'm going to go ahead and run this thing. Lamar Jackson possesses all of the skills needed to be a successful quarterback, except for that intelligence trait. He's fast. He's got a good, strong arm. He's accurate. His mechanics are solid. He can get through his first couple reads. Right? His only issue is that once his reads are done, or once his time is up, and he's going to get ready to get hit, he goes into an instinctive mode that then allows other teams to zone in on him. Why? Because the one thing that you really can't change are your instincts. When that spider sense starts tingling, you're going to move how you move. You are now in your ultra instinct mode. Your body's doing whatever it does because it feels whatever it feels. That's just the way that works. When you let instincts take over. Josh Allen has this same problem once in a while, right? But Josh Allen is also much more intelligent. He scored a 37 on the wonderlic. Very intelligent young man. Just very, very raw. Good skill set. He's plenty fast. He's big. He's strong. He's powerful. He can put the ball wherever. And this past year, he showed that he can be a franchise quarterback because he was able to fix his mechanics. Now, his mechanics did revert a little bit here and there, but he was always able to bring it back to what he's learned. he has room to grow. Lamar Jackson, in my opinion, does not have as much room to grow. He is what he is. Can you teach him new things? Absolutely. But he's going to have a difficult time applying those things that he's learned, because he's going to have to think to solve the problem. Someone like Josh Allen does not, because he's actually learning what he's learning and then able to apply them with little thought. And that's where you want your quarterbacks to go. Aaron Rodgers isn't sitting there thinking like, well, if I hit Valdez-Scantling back shoulder. No, he just sees that the receiver's on the outside and that the corner is trailing on the left. So I'm going to put it to his right, hit him in his back shoulder, and now he's going to catch the ball, or no one's going to catch the ball. There's the big difference. Now, Lamar can make that same throw. However, Lamar is going to have to think about it before he does it. That little bit of time, that split-second difference is going to cause an interception. Like when he played New England, and he waited too long to throw the ball, and J.C. Jackson picked him off. That's what happens when you aren't fast enough on your reads. You're too slow to the trigger. That's just what it is. I don't want to sound like I'm bashing Lamar Jackson. I actually like the kid a lot. He seems to be a fine young man. Right? Now, some people want to take this to a racial place, but that doesn't fit, because Deshaun Watson doesn't fit the same profile. Russell Wilson doesn't fit the same profile. Patrick Mahomes doesn't fit the same profile. A lot of quarterbacks just don't fit the same profile, black or white. They just don't. They don't fit that mold, so to speak. And to be fair, there are not a lot of quarterbacks that fit the Lamar Jackson mold. There just aren't. Lamar Jackson is a mold of his own. He is a special player. The question is, how long can his special play really befuddle the NFL? Once NFL teams start to key in on what he does instinctively, and they get the answers to his questions right more than not, that'll be when Lamar Jackson starts to fail. This is why Tua Tagovailoa is also not going to make it. This is also why Taysom Hill will never be a franchise quarterback. That, and he's already 31, and he's not that smart. He's not that intelligent. This just is what it is. He's just not the type of guy you can count on for your everyday. Teams are going to figure him out. And once they do, time's up. And that's when you can really get hurt. And I don't want to see any of these guys get hurt. They're fun to watch. They're fun to watch. Now, when you look at the smart guys, the Josh Allens scored a 37, Russell Wilson scored a 33, Tom Brady scored a 37, Matthew Stafford scored a 38. People look at you funny when you mention Matthew Stafford. Meanwhile, Matthew Stafford is the fastest quarterback to get to 40,000 yards, period. And then I'll hear the Megatron argument. Well, he had Megatron. He had Megatron for 3 years, maybe? He's been playing for 10. So I'm not sure whether the Megatron argument even holds water at all, because it doesn't. Megatron retired very young and very early. The very next year after Megatron retired, Matthew Stafford had a career year. He's put up 5,000 yard seasons a bunch of times without Megatron. He just plays for the Lions. He was in a Barry Sanders situation where Barry's great, but the Lions are so trash that his greatness is not able to get them over that hump. That's Matthew Stafford. Watch for the Rams to be Super Bowl contenders this year, now that they have a quarterback who has the confidence, the ability, and now the weapons in the line. There's no limit to what Matthew Stafford can do now. Also, the Rams have a defense. They have a good, solid defense, led by the best defensive player, maybe the best player in the NFL, in Aaron Donald. They got Jalen Ramsey. They've got solid linebacker play, good safeties. Their D-line is solid. Aaron Donald makes that whole defense better. What does that mean? That means that now that they have a quarterback like Matt Stafford, watch them blow up. Watch them take off, make the playoffs, maybe even make a run to the NFC Championship game or Super Bowl. But greatness is not necessarily a team thing. Talked about this earlier. Player accomplishments. Matthew Stafford, if he was on a team that was winning, would probably have been the MVP a bunch of times already. But he was on the damn Lions. The Lions. I'm sorry, Lions fans, if you watch this, but your team is one of the most poorly run teams in the history of the NFL. I'm sorry. The Bills were too for like 17 years. Luckily, once Ralph Wilson passed away, God rest his soul, our new owners made a mistake in signing Rex Ryan and keeping Doug Whaley. They realized their mistake, and they decided, okay, we're not exactly experts on football. We're going to hire some people who were. They hired Sean McDermott, who is a well-respected, up-and-coming head coaching prospect, and then they take his advice and hire Brandon Beane, who was a up-and-coming assistant general manager in Carolina, both of which helped the coaching staff and front office of that team to a 15-1 record and a Super Bowl appearance. And now, this year, they're 13-3 in Buffalo, building the franchise to be the best that it can be. It's the best it's been since 1991, 1992, 1993, when we went to 4 Super Bowls straight and lost them all. But I digress. I was like 6 years old, 7 years old, 8 years old, and 9 years old when that happened. So it doesn't really bother me much. People talk about it, whatever. That's all you got. Doesn't bother me. I was a kid. I didn't care. Now, here's the bigger picture when it comes to these quarterbacks. If you want your quarterback to last a long time, they have to have the intelligence, because the first thing to go in any athlete is his speed. When a running back starts to lose his edge, what is it that went? His speed. When LaShawn McCoy was no longer that guy, what happened? He clearly did not have the burst, the speed that he had prior. Right? Now, someone like Frank Gore, who's a power back, is clearly able to last longer. Why? Because he never really relied on his speed. He relied on his power. He was a hammer. And if he got past everybody, then he did. And then he broke his deep one. But LaShawn McCoy was making people miss. Guys like that, guys like Brian Westbrook for the Eagles back in the day, he wasn't a power back at all. He was shaking people out of their shoes. Warwick Dunn, same thing. Back in the day for the Falcons and for the Buccaneers. But somebody who was a power back like Derrick Henry, less problems. Also, the smaller backs, they get hurt easier. Look at all the guys now. Christian McCaffrey, injured. David Johnson over in Arizona, like 212, 215. He was injured. Look at Derrick Henry, though, 240. Running like a damn freight train. There are factors involved and certain risks that teams are going to take. And taking a risk on a less than intelligent quarterback is a very irresponsible thing to do. You need to have a checklist of what your quarterback needs to be if you're going to take him in the first round. Now, granted, Lamar was taken at the end of the first round, and he's better than, so far in his career, he's been better than Baker Mayfield, he's been better than Sam Darnold, he's been better than Josh Rosen, and for the first 2 years, he was better than Josh Allen. At this point, Josh Allen seems to have surpassed him. He did come down this year. Also, in Lamar Jackson's MVP season, Lamar Jackson had a pretty easy road to the MVP. He was a unanimous MVP. It was a very, very weak year for quarterback play amongst other quarterbacks. He threw the most touchdown passes with 36. This year, Aaron Rodgers threw 48. Josh Allen threw 39, 37. I think it was 37. Tom Brady threw for 43. Patrick Mahomes threw for 41, I believe. Like, there were 5 quarterbacks above that mark this year. Deshaun Watson. 5 quarterbacks above that mark this year. It was the weakest year for passers the last 10 years. So you give him the most touchdowns thrown with 36. But somehow he was 20th in passing yards, mostly because that defense was stifling other teams. It was a top 5 defense, giving them a short field. They created a lot of turnovers that year, and giving Lamar Jackson the short field to be able to get into the end zone quickly. He ran for 1,200 yards or 1,100 yards. There's reasons why he won the MVP that year. He was the best quarterback that year. However, the caveat is, it was also a very down year for quarterbacks. Don't believe me? Look it up. I don't want to come down on any particular players, but this is specifically for those guys, the Tyrod Taylors, Lamar Jackson, Taysom Hills, Tua Tagovailoas. It's not an age thing. It's not a race thing. It's not a size thing. Plenty of smaller quarterbacks like Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson make it because they're high intelligence. You know, guys like Josh Allen who are on the upswing because of their intelligence. Physical ability and other things take place too. They take precedence, but if you don't have that high level of intelligence, it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you. Cam Newton scored a 20 on the wonderlic. He became a franchise quarterback. He was at the line. He scored a 20 or a 21. I forget which one it was. He's at the line. He became a franchise quarterback. But even at that level, he was still very instinctive. His completion percentage is under 60 in his career. I believe it was 59%. And when you break things down for him, he got hit a whole lot. Now, there are certain times where the rules were bent a little bit because he's a running quarterback. I get it. But he also told his coaches, I'm not going to slide because you shouldn't take away Superman's cape. So he's going to take some of that too. It's not just on the refs. It's on both. Cam Newton is partially responsible for his own downfall. There's a lot to be put into this discussion. But what I've done is I've collected the data on this one specific test. I've collected the data to see how it affects quarterbacks in different ways. I've looked at other studies to see in what direction this also takes people. And in the last 10 years and the last 10 quarterbacks to win Super Bowls and win MVPs, only one has scored under a 20 on the wonderlic, and that is Lamar Jackson. He won the MVP. That's it. And there's still a caveat to that, which I've already said. The window for him is small. The window for Tua may not exist. The window for Taysom Hill does not exist. There's just so much to be pushed into this. And it's interesting, but it's also scary because, when teams figure you out, you get hurt. Look at the Buffalo game against Baltimore in the playoffs when he had that concussion. That was terrifying. It was a bad snap. Lamar Jackson's running. Why was it a bad snap, though? It's because the Ravens were in desperation mode. They were in desperation. They were being shut down by a team that they were... People said they were going to win that game against Buffalo. People said that the Ravens were going to run away with that one. Buffalo ran away with that one. Buffalo was more effective. And because they were held to 3 points in the first half, they went into panic mode. Not just Lamar, but the whole team. And that got Lamar hurt. Now, if Lamar does better in the first half, it's 10-14, there's no problem. But it wasn't. It wasn't 10-14. He panicked. He threw a pick six. His first interception in the red zone, by the way. His first ever interception in the red zone. There's only two quarterbacks in the league at this point in time, during that game, who had never thrown in a red zone interception. And that was Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson playing against each other in that playoff game. And Lamar Jackson threw his first interception, and it went 103 yards for a pick six to Ron Johnson. Let's go, Bills. Boom. But that eventually led to the downfall of Lamar in that game. He got hurt. And no one likes seeing that. I don't like seeing that. It's a scary prospect to see. But if they win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, that's a first-round pick well spent, even if he only lasts 4 years. So, I just want people to understand where I come from when I say I don't think Lamar Jackson's going to last. Where I don't think Tua Tagovailoa is going to last. And Lamar Jackson was mostly talked about in this video because we have the biggest sample size for him. Tua hasn't even started a full year yet. Lamar has started 2 full years now, and he's got an MVP trophy. So he is the person to make your diagram off of. Does Tua compare to Lamar? No. Tua scored a 13 on that wonderlic as well, and doesn't have the physical ability, and is far more injury prone, and he played at Alabama with the best weapons you can find in college football, where everybody's wide open, and now he's in the NFL. He's having to learn what NFL Open is versus what Alabama Open is. Believe it or not, that's a thing. Ryan Fitzpatrick's sitting here trying to teach him, look, man, in the NFL, that guy's open. That guy's only 2 steps behind him. That's how it works in the NFL. He could be on his hip pocket. If you can put that ball over the top and in a bucket, that's a completion. That's a first down. You have to learn that's how this game is played here. Will Tua learn that? I doubt it. I'm highly doubting it. Lamar learned it, but Lamar actually kind of knew that already, playing in a somewhat pro-style offense at Louisville. Got to give Lamar the credit he's due. You got to give him the credit he's due. And when he's running the ball, that man is electric. He is electric. He's all over the place. You don't know which way he's going. He might not even know which way he's going. But your shoes aren't going anywhere because he's shaking you out of them. Love watching Lamar Jackson play. But faith in his longevity, I have none. I have none. I've done my studies. I've got my data. I have my reasons. I'm a very logical person. I'm not an emotionally ran person. So I know I'm going to get some comments in here if I get a lot of views that are going to be, charged with emotion. And that's fine. That's fine. I'll take the love and the hate. This is just what I found from the statistics and the data. God bless you all. May you have a wonderful day. Let's go Bills. Josh Allen, time for you to take the next step next year. You have all of the tools to do so. You showed us this year. And I thought I was going to end the video there, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about Josh Allen and his, move forward. Josh Allen in both of his off seasons has progressed immensely, and this year with no off season, no OTAs, no training camp, like everybody else. I can't blame them for any problems, nor can I, blame it for anybody else's. But under those circumstances, he got exponentially better. His first year, 10 touchdowns, 12 interceptions, 2,200 yards passing in 10 games. He had 9 fumbles, I think it was, or 8 fumbles lost, and 6 fumbles lost. He had 8 total fumbles, 6 fumbles lost, and 8 rushing touchdowns. So he had 18 touchdowns, 18 turnovers. Year 2, Josh Allen throws for 3,200 yards, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, runs for 9 touchdowns, but fumbles and loses 9 fumbles. So he goes from 4 fumbles, lost 4 fumbles, 9 total fumbles, 4 fumbles lost. So he goes to 29 total touchdowns and 13 total turnovers. Adding 500 yards to his 3,200, he had 3,700 total yards. Year 3 as a starter, puts up 4,500 yards passing, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, passer rate through the roof, a 70% completion percentage, up from his below 60 completion percentage the year before, plus 8 rushing touchdowns and 410 rushing yards, putting him right around 4,900 total yards. He also had a receiving touchdown, so that puts him at 37 plus 1 is 38, plus 8 is 46 total touchdowns. Josh Allen went from 18 touchdowns, 18 turnovers, to 29 touchdowns, 13 turnovers, to 46 touchdowns, and 16 turnovers. Exponentially better every year. He has progressed in a way never seen before. I'm happy for it. Let's go, Bills. We got the right guy. We got our guy. A lot of us were skeptical. Even I was skeptical. I wanted us to draft Mason Rudolph in the second round. I was wrong. Here I am telling you, I was wrong. I thought he was way too raw. Thought it was way too raw. But here I am, wrong and happy for it. So, let's go Buffalo. The Bills. Hoping for you guys next year. Bills Mafia. Love all of you, even the ones who hate on us sometimes. Because we do have some self-hating Bills fans who just don't know how to respond to this success that we've been having. We are in our Super Bowl window. It's time for us to go get that ring. God bless you all. Love you. Let's go Bills.